All right. Amazon just announced it that they've locked in Prime Big Deal Days, October 7th through the 8th. So 2 days. But here's the catch. Most sellers think that Prime days on Amazon and big sale days on Amazon are all about slashing prices. But when reality, the real money is actually won before the event even starts. And most sellers don't realize that. So if you stick with me, I'm going to go through a 14-day hack leading up to Prime Day, where it turns every dollar into a 10x return. It's one of the most amazing things. I'm Sean. This is Jacob. And this one hack, we're actually share consistently these kind of hacks inside of Pro Seller Elite. And over here is Pro Seller Elite. I'm going to go over that in just a second. That'll be showing you kind of what goes on for those. But the idea is that I want to break this all down into a very simple system, this whole hack, in a system you'll be able to follow in just minutes. And as a matter of fact, I want to go one step further. I'm actually going to make this stupidly simple and give you a downloadable resource. This is free for you. The link is pinned in the comment. I'll also put it into the description. But the idea for this is that this will speed up your process of getting you set up right for big deal day, and also for any future promotions as well on Amazon. It has checklists, has all the resources you're going to need to do this right in it, and it's for free. You can go ahead and just download it and make that happen. So I kind of want to break this down. Jacob's here with me because we want to take you through this process in the most efficient way so you fully understand the opportunity that's before you as far as big deal days is concerned. Also, how to take advantage of it in a way that no one's really talking about. I don't hear anyone talking about this on Amazon. This is honestly, for us, it's some of the same techniques that we're showing inside of Pro Seller Elite. We will use these techniques to generate over $100 million in Amazon sales for our clients and for students. We've also used them for brands that are from small startups to brands you may have heard of. They're also available to everyone that's inside of Pro Seller Elite. So we'll go over that and show you how you can get access to that. But what I really want to do is help you to understand how to take advantage of big deal days. And really that comes from understanding what Amazon big deal days are. So let's talk about, Jacob, maybe a little bit about the kickoff, and then you can kind of lead me through the slides here, I guess, on what we want to do.
Yeah, so big deal days, bit of a newer, everyone obviously very familiar with the Prime Day. That's obviously the crazy one. But Amazon was looking for something that's sort of what we call the kickoff into the Q4 holiday frenzy. You may be familiar with the bring up images of people like punching people down for TVs at Walmart, stuff like that. It's changed a little bit over the years. But yeah, really just starting to stir up all the kind of Q4 craziness that we see, all the increased traffic. People are ready to shop with credit cards in hand, looking for products to kind of go for as we're jumping into the big sale season. So things have changed a little bit for those who might have participated in some of the previous either Prime Day or Prime Deal days. Amazon's actually moved a lot of the UIs in the back end of Seller Central. So now to create deals, instead of using the kind of Prime exclusive discounts, that's now all been morphed into the Prime or price discounts page. From there, it's also $100 to participate. That's a bit of a newer development too. Previously it was kind of free, just working with ad spend as well. So those are kind of some of the small changes. I want to go over a quick eligibility checklist, so that way people know whether or not they're actually going to be able to participate. So see if this is kind of relevant to you. Biggest one should be pretty easy to kind of maintain a 3+ star rating. So as long as you have a decently kind of rated product, you can participate in this. Your items need to be in new condition only. So no kind of used in new condition, anything like that. And then the biggest one that trips up a lot of people, it needs to be 5%. Your discount you're setting up needs to be 5% off your current price, off your 30-day price. So what Amazon's trying to avoid here is they don't want you selling your product for $29.99 raising it up to like $34.99 and then backing it back
Classic.
down to $20.99 and pretending it's a sale. So they want to avoid
Classic
that.
trickery, right?
Classic trickery, yeah. So they're a little bit smarter now. They're catching it a little bit better. So 30-day price, your current price, and then also reference prices. So if you're selling this same product on Amazon, but you're also selling it on eBay, you're selling it under Shopify with the same UPC code, Amazon actually checks all of those. So if for some reason you're selling your product up for $29 on Amazon, but you're selling it for $24.99 on your shop because Amazon charges more fees, your 5% needs to be lower than the shop price because Amazon will make sure that they have all those reference prices included as well. So that's one that kind of most people don't tend to think about. Obviously, there's a couple other ones. No restricted / adult products, so just not doing anything kind of inappropriate. And then also seller performance thresholds. There's things like you have to have a kind of relatively healthy late shipment, on-time delivery rate, low cancel rates, and then your 7-day disbursements. All those things need to be in line. So if your account's nice and healthy, you got a decently rated product, you'll be able to participate. And there's a lot of money to be made during these days. A lot of traffic on Amazon. It is really, truly amazing the amount of spike and just attention that we see. But what we're talking about here is more about rules. Even if you follow these rules perfectly to a T, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to kind of see these increase in sales. Rules can be followed, and then your sales still kind of just maintain relatively the same. Compliance does not equal conversions. So we want to go into more details on that.
Yeah, and one of the things I'll say in addition to that is I think everyone sort of what I'm seeing over and over again, especially for students when they're looking at joining a pro seller or just talking to clients, it really doesn't matter whether they're big companies, 7, 8, 9-figure companies or not. They have this sort of misunderstanding, two misunderstandings. One, that if they just get the product up on Amazon and do whatever Amazon tells them, they're going to somehow win. That's just not true. And the other thing is they think that everything that Amazon offers them is there to help them somehow. And that's just not true either. If you find an easy button on Amazon, I almost always suggest you avoid it, because what they're doing is trying to make it better for Amazon. Amazon cares about Amazon's platform. Amazon cares about how they curate their shoppers, their customers. You're really, as a seller, as a third-rate citizen. So we really want to be able to, I would say manipulate, Jacob might be a fair way to say. We want to be able to use Amazon's force or weight against them like a good judo expert might do. And so this trick that we're going to talk about, this hack that we're going to talk about today, is really sort of focused on that, on using what Amazon is already doing. Most people just don't pay attention to for our advantage, rather than just letting Amazon play its own game with our stuff. So really what we're going to focus on, what Amazon's real play is. And honestly, this is all about, for Amazon's real play, their motivation is all about Amazon, and it's getting eyeballs onto Amazon. Jacob, good job on this graphic. I thought this was exceptional with the eyeballs.
This is what I went to art school for, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But their whole goal is, twofold. Is one, to just get more eyeballs on the platform, because they're saying, hey, we're coming into Q4. We're going to go ahead and do whatever's necessary to start beating out Target and Walmart and all these people that have physical stores, but as well as who have entered into the e-commerce game in the past few years and become, sort of viable threats to Amazon. So their real goal is to just get eyeballs onto the platform during Big Sale Day. So they're really going whole hog into this, and they're trying to steal market share away from these other players. And part of the process, part of the way that they're going to steal market share away from these other players, is to do what's called retargeting. So they're going to put millions and millions and millions of dollars into retargeting on the onto Amazon, meaning they knew that they're already existing and shopping in the Amazon ecosystem, but they didn't go ahead and make a purchase. So what they're going to do is retarget them, get them back onto the platform. They're going to pay to be out there on Google and all of their own platforms like IMDb, Twitch, all those kind of things, the ones that Amazon owns, but also other ones. They're going to actually pay for placement to try and entice people back onto the Amazon platform during these 2 days. Yeah. So that's kind of where part of this hack really comes into play. And one of the things that they're going to use is they're going to use your product as part of their trigger. They're going to say, hey, they came on to your listing, but they didn't buy. What do they do now? Well, they're going to go ahead and spend money and show your product for free to those shoppers and say, hey, you looked at this listing, but you didn't actually buy from this listing. So here it is again. Come back onto Amazon, make the purchase that you didn't make before. So this is really a big opportunity that a lot of Amazon sellers won't take advantage of, because what we're going to do is really sort of look at ramping up our advertising in a very specific way that will help you get those results. So Jacob, I guess we kind of want to back up and just talk a little bit about this. Like how are we going to do this? Because what we're going to do here is we're going to actually promote in advance of, and this is the whole sense of this hack, we're going to promote in advance of big deal days, and then get tons of shoppers onto our listing that Amazon can then go and, retarget and get them back onto our listing during Prime and big deal days.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, the classic example of this retargeting is like you're on Amazon, you're like, oh, I need to get some shampoo for later, but you didn't make the purchase. And then your day goes by, you're scrolling on Facebook, and then you're like, oh, how did Amazon know that I was looking for that? Now there's an ad on the side of my Facebook for like 30 different shampoos. That metric just times 1,000. I mean, Amazon's just going crazy with it during these events. So that's really what we want to take advantage of. So a lot of it comes with intentionality early. So there's a little bit of pre-planning that goes into this. You need to be able to know what ASINs you're going to be running your deals on. So step one, biggest one, you got to pick your exact ASINs you're going to be running your deals on. So going back to that eligibility checklist, make sure the ones that you want to run, they meet your star rating. You're going to be able to bring down the price to an appropriate level without kind of messing up any of your other commerce platforms as well. Step two, from there, we're going to be boosting ad spend on targeted campaigns. The goal for this one is not necessarily sales. Sales come through. That's always cool too, but I'm not going to say none of those.
Yeah, if you get them, go for it.
Yeah, exactly. So some of the ones that we're kind of looking at, normally if we have a balance of exact campaigns and then auto campaigns, maybe we lean a little bit more heavy into the auto, because it's not necessary that they make a purchase, but maybe we're just going for maximum visibility. So allocating some of your budget separately between those two is technically a good way to go through that. And then step three is to build up a retargeting pool. So basically your goal here is you want Amazon to be pixeling your shoppers. So Amazon can retarget them for free later. So any of those eyeballs that make it through, any of them that make that click, that's enough for Amazon to be like, okay, you're interested in this product. Clearly, I'll come back and grab you a little bit later whenever there's a deal going. But again, we want to make sure that our targeting is on ones that we're actually going to be running the deals for. That's what kind of triggers Amazon's retargeting mechanisms during the Prime Big Deal days.
Yeah, and let me say this too really quick. If you're kind of confused about PPC, I think this is probably by far the best. It's actually a system, and we have AI shortcuts in there. So no, it's not like software that you have to pay $100 a month for, anything crazy like this. This system can actually be done in like 10, maybe if you're really slow, 15 minutes a week, running PPC, and how to do all of the stuff that Jacob just talked about as far as like setups and stuff like that. And the AI shortcuts will answer all those questions. This is all inside of Pro Seller Elite. I would head, if you're looking at like, hey, how do I actually do this? The nuts and bolts of how do I do this? I'd head straight here. Go ahead and grab this. We have a 7-day free trial on this. You can just literally come in, swipe this information, try it, check it out, go look at the community and all these other events. Jacob and I are on there weekly. We have live events where we're on there weekly and answering questions, helping people through all of these processes and everything like that. So I would just head straight in here, then maybe set up for that. You have a 7-day free trial. You could swipe all of these resources and go away and use them all in that time. But really focusing on this portion of the retargeting is what it's about, because you get this right and you can pretty much just sit back and enjoy what's going to happen on Amazon from that point on, because they're going to go ahead and take care of getting shoppers to your listing for you on Amazon's dime. You're not going to have to do any of that. So I think those are the biggest things that we want to focus on. Now, step 4, that's it. Sit back, enjoy that spend that Amazon is going to be spending that money for you on your behalf to get them onto your listing. Now, a big warning. Jacob's, we'll probably talk to this and break it down just a little bit. But we only want to focus on this if we're getting the fundamentals right. Jacob, kind of what do we mean by fundamentals? I'll be honest with you. I hate the word fundamentals because it sounds boring, but I think what Jacob and I have probably found is probably more millions have been made by focusing on the fundamentals in some unique ways that we're going to show you, but in unique ways, but focusing on the fundamentals, on the basics, on the things that are the most important on Amazon. But I think people get hung up on maybe what Amazon is and don't understand those. So what would we be talking about?
Yeah, so I think what the major pitfalls we really want to avoid here is, again, people, especially maybe if you're like the solo entrepreneur type, and you're like, oh, I spend all my like evenings, whenever I'm not working on the business, watching YouTube videos for these cool hacks and things like that. And so you implement these big strategies, and then you wait on Prime Day Deal Day, and you're like, oh man, nothing's really happening. I'm not really getting any movement. The biggest reason we see for those pitfalls is people, again, they're just not coming back to the fundamentals. And when we talk about fundamentals, we're talking about two kind of primary triggers that we're looking at as far as like statistics on Amazon. So your click-through rate, CTR. If you can't win the click, then retargeting just remarkets failure. We want to make sure that we're at least getting them onto the listing, that there is that level of intrigue, even if they don't end up making the jump for the purchase as well. Especially because, again, if we're getting the click and then maybe they're not purchasing, there's also a certain amount of people on the marketplace who will just look at items before Prime Big Deal Day and then not purchase because they're like, this will probably go on sale. So I'll wait to make any big purchases until then as well. So again, really want to make sure we're getting as many eyeballs on that listing as possible. So I don't know if you want to talk on click-through rate.
I don't want to say that on this one, just if you don't mind, just a second. I wanted to talk about this. Click-through rate is almost always has to do with the stack process. If you jump in and go straight to the stack process, if you're like, my click-through rate isn't good, I'm not getting enough people, I'm not getting enough eyeballs, I would start literally right here because it has to probably do with what you're putting onto your main image, what you're also doing in your title, which will come back to some of this fundamentals right here. But I would say jump into this one because I think this is really going to push you ahead on getting that click-through rate up. And again, money follows attention, whether it's on Amazon or off Amazon. So if your sales are low, I'm just not having people on my listing. The reality is you're just not getting enough attention. Your main image isn't doing its job is probably what we've seen more often than not. People just stick their product on the main image and they're like, oh no, that all white background rule makes me that I have to just stick my product up there. It doesn't mean you need to be boring, and it doesn't mean you don't need to tell a story in your main image of some kind. So I think that'll be a great resource to really talk about when we're talking about the fundamentals, especially around click-through rate.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and then the other side of the click-through rate too is once you get them on the listing, it needs to be proven that you can convert. Because again, you could spend all this money in preparation. You're really kind of boosting your budget. It's like, okay, I'm going to get as many people on the listing as possible. And then whenever it comes down to it, if your conversion mechanisms are not in place, you're not really taking people through that sales process on your listing. Your bullets aren't kind of tightened up to tell those emotional story drivers. So maybe the pain points that your product is looking to solve, some of the kind of solutions that you're looking to kind of bring into your life with your product. If all those mechanisms aren't in place in your bullets, your image stack, your A+ content, any of that kind of content as well, then Amazon, again, they're going to always prioritize listings that they know are going to convert well. So even a 1% bump in conversion rate or unit session percentage, that can get you from like page to 7 to like page 1 almost overnight. So like a fanatical kind of intensive focus on the fundamentals, I think really is what brings you up from that page 7 seller to that page 1 seller that everyone wants to fight for.
Yeah, I think a good example of that is Antonio. What a great guy. But literally, we focused on these things for him. Sales jumped from 10 units today to 40 to 55 units per day. So that's like a 400% increase. One image swap, really focusing on the main image, those sales jumping overnight. I'll kind of show you sort of like what it was if you'd like. Basically what it was, he had a very basic bland background. We put this was the image that we swapped out. We put these things onto the main image. There was no packaging here, so we cheated in some packaging. We put the American flag. Now, we did it with a purpose. The reason we did it is because our research showed, and what was done on this matrix right here, right here showed that, hey, these buyers were worried about the chemical smells that came from cheap foreign imports. And so they wanted American products. Just doing this one thing right here had a phenomenal jump in his sales overnight, 400% jump in click-through rate and sales overnight. So really just focusing on the fundamentals are what can drive some of those results for you in really particular ways. So I kind of want to say that. But Jacob, one of the cool things about this, I think I'll let you talk sort of about like why you would want to learn this process now in just a second. But one of the cool things about this is all very systematic. If you come in and do the work here and then do the work here and then do the work here, you get exactly what Antonio got. Like you get the process that Antonio got. And Jacob and I talk a lot about how, hey, there's no magic on Amazon. We don't sell magic. We don't sell magic because everyone thinks that there's something magical. We're really, it's marketing, it's metrics, it's knowing all those things that really take the place of magic, because magic is just too unpredictable. I love when magic happens, when lightning in a bottle, all that kind of stuff, but it's unpredictable. We want to have predictable ways to be able to move ahead. And so right now I'm going to tell you the most predictable way is do this, and then come over here and do this, and you'll get this. That's the results that will get you to here. Otherwise, you're just guessing. I'm like, oh, and I've had a number of students go like, hey, I did what you showed, and I put the thing on the main image, but mine didn't get the results. I'm like, well, because you didn't do the stuff behind it. Like the reason was it wasn't just that thing on the main image. This is actually the foundational stuff. We actually refer back to our 100K matrix almost consistently, and then that drives these kinds of decisions. So I really want to say that. I also want to encourage you that this isn't sort of a one and done technique. So maybe Jacob, you can talk about like how this can play out a little bit over and over for us again, that may be sort of useful to people.
Yeah, well, I think the big one for this is if you're mastering these techniques, the mechanisms that Amazon uses on almost all of their event deals, like deal events, are very similar. So for Prime Big Deal Days, obviously this is a little bit of a shorter event, it's a little 2-day. But if you really kind of focus and kind of master this technique early, coming through the steps that we talked about earlier, the same exact kind of principles apply for Black Friday. They apply for Cyber Monday. They apply for Prime Day whenever that comes back up next July. So again, what we're talking about here is kind of more universal truths for dealing with Amazon events. If you learn this, it's not like, okay, I learned this one thing, I'm going to use it for a couple of days, and then I got to go continue on with the rest of my life. These will continue to pay dividends for you as you continue down your Amazon selling journey, and you're like, oh yeah, there's this one technique I tried. It worked out pretty well for Prime Big Deal Day. Let me try it again on Prime Day, and maybe we'll bump up the ad spend a little bit more this time, and we'll get a little bit more aggressive. You'll start to see how it plays into the whole Amazon ecosystem. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. And so you can literally just say, yeah, this is Big Deal Days, but this is also Prime Days. This is any Lightning Deal Days. This is anything that goes on Amazon. You can just literally follow the checklist in here. Again, I'll put that link in the pinned comment. And also just say this, if you're serious about this and you go like, hey, I can understand this, I'll follow all the instructions in the Big Deal Day guide, and you're saying, okay, but what's next? Then I'm going to suggest this video over here. I'm going to put this off to the side. This video is a resource that will show you how to turn clicks into buyers, because once you get them on the listing, once you kind of do all the work on the advertising, you really need to convert them into buyers, or guess what? Amazon's going to literally take your ranking away from you. So this video will help you get to that position on Amazon with your listing. It's how to create high yield listings on Amazon. So go ahead and click on that right there. It'll get you started on a playlist that I think will lead you in the next direction, what you will need to really take advantage of Big Sale Days. And we'll see you on our next video.